It is. It's the magic number.
What does it all mean?
Hello and welcome to Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy. That's me, Matthew Syed. Some meaty topics to get our teeth into this week. Dressing room dynamics. Does sport build character or is that a myth? And friendships in sport and life. As always, a big thank you to everyone who's got in touch through the week using the hashtag FredSavSide. Topic number one. And this is coming off the back of Robbie being mentioned by Sir Alex Ferguson in the dressing room when he was given a team talk for that testimonial. What are the most unusual, interesting things that have happened in the dressing room, in the tunnel? This is a part of sport that the public don't get to see. What's it like listening to Sir Alex Ferguson or Jose Mourinho or Duncan Fletcher or Andy Flower?
Do you know what? When you see these football documentaries, there's a brilliant one about the late Graham Taylor.
Yes.
Where
yes.
he just was on the sidelines.
Yeah.
He probably gave the camera crew too much access, didn't he?
He did.
They were everywhere, and I don't know if it painted him in a great light or a bad light, but as a viewer to watch that and see what happens within a football dressing room, and he's seen Barry Fry going around the dressing room shouting at people and chucking stuff and having a go. And I used to watch that because it didn't really happen in cricket. It wasn't that sort of culture. Only every now and then. But was that a norm in football? Like the managers you played for?
Yep.
Did they go around saying, Savage, you that?
Martin O'Neill, Fred, was the best example. So basically, as a youngster, just to make him away in the Premier League, and it would be easy on you at the start, but you'd see him having a go at the older players, more experienced players, but then one day that was going to be you. And I always remember that if you had a bad first half, you'd be going into the change room thinking straight away, I hope the manager doesn't have a go at me. And what used to happen, so I used to sit in the same place all the time, at Filbert Street. You'd go in the door and I was the first on the left. So the gaff used to walk in and he used to pause all the time, 30 seconds. He used to stand there and he used to have his green jumper on, sleeves rolled up. He had MON on his top, Martin O'Neill.
What, green jumper? Was he a Brian Clough fan or something?
Well, yeah, so basically he played for Brian Clough.
That's a good point, actually.
Brian Clough was famous for a green jumper. So I'm sitting there, I've had a bad first half, and he used to come in and he used to put his hand on his mouth and he used to look around the dressing room and you'd be sitting there thinking, please, not me.
So he's deliberately trying to maximise the apprehension and the tension in the room.
You knew yourself you had a bad first half if you made a mistake. I remember he used to look round, and then if it was you, oh no, it was horrendous. He used to absolutely tear it.
Would he raise his? Would he shout?
Yeah, shout. Yeah.
How dare you give the ball away? Why were you out of position? Would there be swear words?
Never mind you, Robbie. Kick the ball.
Why haven't you touched the ball this time?
Yeah,
you got ginger eyebrows, Rob. What's wrong with you? You've been in that fake tan again.
There would be swear words, but the apprehension of was it going to be you that was going to get hammered? Honestly, it was horrendous, but it used to inspire me. He'd hammer me at half time, and of course, it would inspire you to go out there second half and prove him wrong. He was a master of that.
Did it inspire you? Like in the dressing room, say it comes to you.
Yeah.
Because some people I played with would respond to it, some would just sulk and disappear. But if he came in and had a go at you, saying, Savage, second half you go out there and be better.
Prove him wrong.
Was the people in your dressing room
they'd go into their shell probably,
who'd go into the shell?
Who wouldn't have liked that.
So did he then
He knew every person. He knew. There was a guy called Steve Guppy, left winger.
Steve Guppy, I heard of Steve Guppy, yeah.
Fantastic left foot, got in England, had one cap for England, brilliant. But we knew as a group, if Martin would have gone for him, he wouldn't have got the best out of him.
Did he ever go for him?
Not very often. I remember one occasion we played Southampton away, right? And this goes to show the mindset of a manager, knowing his players, knowing the change room. Southampton away, we got hammered. The lads were horrendous. And I remember Gups was pathetic. He was pathetic. Anyway, we're getting after the game. Gaffer goes round, hammers everybody, and he's got to Stevie Guppy. You were brilliant. So all the lads got on the bus thinking, what is it? He was shocking. We used to hammer him.
Yeah.
You were sure? You were shocking. Anyway, next week, Gups was man of the match. Brilliant. I think we beat Liverpool. But just goes to show...
So he was being psychological,
correct.
trying to get the right response.
Man management, Martin O'Neill, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Got the best out of every individual. When I was talking about before, when he said about me, I had no ability, I lacked ability, but that got the best out of me. Yeah. But in the change room, Nigel Clough was another one. He'd done that to me. So later in my career, Nigel Clough, the master of man management players, the older players, I was 36. And if I had a good game on a Saturday, he'd say to me, see you Friday. So all the other lads were probably thinking, oh, the gaffer, look at the gaffer, look at Sav.
Yeah.
You know, he's his man. But because the gaffer knew I travelled,
Yeah.
to get the best out of me, he's a massive family man. You haven't seen your kids much in recent times. You keep yourself fit, keep yourself right, see you Friday, you're playing Saturday.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which was brilliant man management for me. I wanted to then run through brick walls for Nigel Clough.
Yeah.
And we played Cardiff away. We got beat 6-1. And you know, Fred and Matthew, when you've played sport, you don't need anybody telling you if you've had a good or a bad game. We lost to Cardiff 6-1. And I've got to say, I've come in after the game thinking, I've done all right here. We got beat 6-1. And I'm
Hang on, mate. You've done all right.
But you know yourself. You know,
matter.
Yeah, but it does matter. You know yourself. If you've got beat 6-1,
if you got beat 6-1,
and I played well,
you played well.
Yeah, it's a good.
Do you go like strutting into the dressing room and looking at everyone thinking, "Oh, guppy, shocking"?
First and foremost,
I don't know how she played with, but
first and foremost, I was a team player. And
I'm not disputing that at all.
Yeah, but I've got to say, sitting there getting beat 6-1, me thinking to myself, do you know what? I've played well here, and then the gaffer comes in thinking he's not going to single me out for playing well, but do you know what he did? He hammered everybody on the reverse of Steve Guppy, and I'm sitting there knowing I played well. He's gone, everybody but him. Sav, you were brilliant.
Oh, I'd hate that. I would hate that.
But do you know what I mean? That gave me, because I was quite insecure, quite a nervous person. Wow, yeah.
You a nervous player?
Yeah, a little bit. But for me, that was a massive thing, because that takes a lot from a manager. When a team gets hammered 6-1, but has been honest and said to a player, you've played well. I knew I'd play well.
But Joe, it was fascinating for me listening to you is that in football there is a dominant managerial technique of being angry, of shouting, of going after people, and it sort of fits with a stereotypical football manager who can ball with the best of them. In table tennis, we didn't have anything like that. There was
no one cares.
No vitriol.
No one's bothered.
Yeah, good one, Fred. Yeah, Matthew cares.
But no animosity. I mean, most of it was trying to build up and nurture and protect people's often quite fragile egos. I want to come back to some of the psychology behind that. But in cricket, a mistake, particularly as a batsman, that can have massive consequences. You're out, it puts the team under pressure. You see a lot of commentators who will hammer a batsman for playing a loose shot. Boycott.
Don't start me on them.
What's it like in the dressing room? You've got out, perhaps in a way that people think are frivolous. Would you go back and Fletcher or Flower or someone of that start hammering you in the way that Boycott might do?
No.
How would it?
Well, what happened? You see the commentators now, and I think they're getting better. Don't get me wrong. However, they've got short memories, such short memories of how hard it is. And you play a shot, and you're going to get out, and they just hammer you. But in the dressing room, no, it didn't. I started playing for Lancashire and England under 19s, under David Lloyd, under Bumble.
Yep. And you loved him.
I loved him because he would tell you exactly what he's thinking.
Yeah, he's great, Bumble.
You knew that he had your back every day of the week, but don't let him down. Don't let him down. He would give. Whatever you give, he would give you back tenfold.
Did he ever shout at you?
He never shouted at me, but it was worse what he did to me. Because I remember I broke my hand once. I punched the wall. I mentioned it on the podcast. Yeah. I got out and I punched the wall. He didn't shout at me. He just said, well, that was stupid, and walked off. And that was worse than being shouted at. But Bumble, you know, we saw when they played Zimbabwe, they drew against Zimbabwe in the press after he says, we murdered him. You go in the dressing room and then you come in. He'd have Churchill quotes.
Would he?
He'd have all your best bits as a player on the team bus playing to music and things, and he loved it all. He'd make you feel so good as a player. But then when he went off, or he'd go off, he would shout.
Would he?
I remember, I wasn't there, but in Australia they got beat in a one-day international, and they should have won. And Alan Mullally had this massive new Bose sound system, and he got out. This Bose sound system ended up the other side of the dressing room, just booted it because he just went off on one.
Yeah.
On the England under-19s trip, he used to tell us in the dressing room exactly what he thought. But then, in one game, we were getting some stick off the crowd. And it's a partisan crowd. It's like 300 people. He went and sat in the crowd, took his teeth out.
What?
And said, come on then, who wants a bit? Who wants a bit? I heard him on the telephone.
No way.
On the telephone once, which was a wind-up he had no idea about. Mike Watkinson we used to send letters. So they write letters, and they used to write letters to Bumble. And they wrote a letter to Bumble. And I was 12th man at the Oval, and he's reading this letter, and I could see the steam coming out of his ears. He was fuming. But he didn't know Mike Watkinson had written the letter, one of the players. It was just hammering him, hammering the team. And he phoned up, and this woman answered the phone. And he said, could I speak to such and such with this double-barreled name? He says, I'm sorry, he's tending the grounds. He says, well, can you tell him it's David Lloyd? You've sent me a letter. I'm 43 and I can handle myself. Right? So he phoned up, and then this fellow who'd been set up, he just tore a strip off him for half an hour, and I'm sat in the dressing room with him. But Bumble was brilliant. Man management, you'd play for him.
Yeah. It's interesting hearing you talk about it, because you can see that he inspired you, that the chemistry you had with him brought the best out of it. I'm guessing that Andy Flower, don't know him that well, but he would give a player the silent treatment.
I didn't really play much under Andy Flower. And
Fletcher, same kind of thing?
Fletcher, well, you know my thoughts on him. Do you know the problem with Duncan is that if you speak to me and a group of people, there were one opinion. You speak to Marcus Trescothick, you speak to Nasser Hussain, you speak to some, and then they'll have a positive experience of Duncan Fletcher.
Yeah.
For me, the one thing that let Duncan down was his man management skills.
Right.
He did not have any.
Yeah.
He really didn't. He would treat people completely different. I remember I'd been working with him for 3 years, and then he wanted to let me into the secret of how to play spin. Mm-hmm. Well, I was thinking, why not tell me this like 3 years ago? And once he told me, it just confused me anyway.
Yeah.
And we didn't speak.
Yes.
It was like, if you got to have a problem, come on, let's have it. Yeah. Let's have it, tell me.
Robbie, you mentioned that you and Rio had a showdown in the tunnel at Old Trafford. I mean, that is interesting, because we often don't see into that. We saw Keane and Vieira have a bit of a contretemps before one of the matches between United and Arsenal. But what would happen with you and opposition players? Would you try and rile each other in the tunnel? Would you try and play mind games with them? Any memories from that dynamic?
I've seen when I played for Derby against Leicester, when I went over in the last minute, Dan Higginbottom tripped me up, foul. We won the game 3-2. Muzzy just scored a penalty. And I remember kissing my badge at Pride Park in front of the Leicester fans. I was kissing the Leicester badge. And then all the players congregated in the tunnel, and the tunnel was a good word, was swaying from side to side, and I couldn't get in there because it was cracking off. It was cracking off because they all wanted to get to me, but Walsh, Elliott, Taggart all stuck up for me, wouldn't let them get to me. If I'd have gone in that tunnel, I'd have been...
How hard were you trying to get to the front?
Not very hard.
was it one of them? Hold me back, Tags, hold me back, hold me back.
You know, so again, so that it happens in tunnels, but...
You got into trouble a couple of times with stuff you said in the dressing room, haven't you?
I remember on one occasion, well, Nigel Clough... nobody likes getting rested, do they? I played well the previous game. Leicester City away, my old club, playing for Derby. I was playing really well. I was captain, and then the gaffer arrested me. He come to the front of the bus on the way to the game and said, I'm going to give you a rest today. And my head had gone. I said, give me a rest. Are you effing sure? Mm-hmm. That's what I swore. And he went, that's my decision. Simple. So I've gone into the dressing room, and what happens is the kit man, assistant manager, are there before. Mm-hmm. So I've walked in, and I've threw me Louis Vuitton wash bag against the wall. As we all
didn't
carry
scratch it, did you?
No.
Hey, your face cream didn't explode inside, did it? Hey? Oh.
So I'm throwing it against the wall.
Oh, bummy.
And then, so they've gone, what's up? I said,
whitening toothpaste everywhere.
So they've gone, what's up? I said, you know what's up.
How big was the wash bag? I bet it's massive, isn't it?
It's a suitcase. It's a suitcase.
Big hole in the wall.
So I said, oh, you know I'm not playing. Oh, what we do? I said, yes, you do. You know what the team is. I said, I'm playing well. I'm a captain. I'm against my old club.
Yeah.
I'm 36. I'm one of the fittest at the club still. Yeah. The gaffer doesn't think he can play 2 or 3 games a week. I said, is he for real? Yeah. Anyway, the gaffer walks in and he's going, what's up with you? I said, sub, are you sure? And he just looked at me, he went, do you want to be sub or not? I went, do what you want. I said, I'm not bothered. Do what you want. He went, do you want to be sub or not? And he got aggressive now. I went, well, yeah, like that. Mm-hmm. So I was sub, never got on. And then for a week, he didn't speak to me. And if you're right, the silent treatment's worse.
Oh, it's horrible.
Seriously, so I've gone home that night thinking, oh dear, he's doing it in my best interests. We had a big game the following week. He's probably looking after me. Yeah, so the role reversal when he looked after me, it's all psychological.
Okay, can I go on, finish.
Yeah, can I finish? Sorry, Matthew. So anyway, I've lost my train of thought now. You've interrupted me.
That's a tricky thing for him to lose as well. That's a tricky thing.
but on the other occasion, Stadium of Light, Sunderland, again, playing for Birmingham, 0-0, half-time. I was the best player in the park. I'll come to the end of the story in a minute, right?
I hope so.
So 5 minutes into the second half, I've looked over, Fred, Matthew.
Yeah.
The number 8 ball's being held up. I've looked around and Steve Bruce is there in his tracksuit, and I've looked around thinking, what's going on here? And I've looked round at everybody and I think, is that my number? Is that mine? Yeah, it was 8. Off I go. Clinton Morrison comes on.
How many minutes?
49.
49 minutes.
So 4 minutes a second half, and I'm thinking, I'm not in. I was checking my legs. I was stretching. Am I right? Anyway, I've gone off, shut my boots, sat down, and said, "Are you sure? Are you for real? You idiot!" I lost it. Anyway, Clinton Morrison comes on, scores the winner. We win 1-0. They're all jumping on each other when we score. I'm sitting there thinking, this is ridiculous.
Well, you didn't celebrate?
No, did I?
Come on.
No.
On.
So my head's gone. Yeah. So I'm going to the dressing room afterwards, sitting there. Brucey comes in, and he's gone for me. I said, not bothered. I said, ridiculous. You won the game, fair enough, but why did you take me off? He's gone, oh, do you never have a bad game? I said, not really, no. I said, not for you, no. I said, player of the year? No. Don't really have a bad game? No. And I was answering all his questions. Anyway, fell out. The man of the match was awarded. So the home team announced the man of the match. It was me. For 49 minutes, I got the man of the match. So I had to go up the stairs at Stadium Light and get a big bottle of Sunderland champagne.
Were you a bit embarrassed?
No, I wasn't, because I knew I was for 49 minutes. But I was brilliant. I was brilliant.
While you were on.
Then why the hell did he take you off?
Exactly.
Did he give you an explanation?
No explanation. So I've got the bottle of champagne, I get on the bus and I put it in his seat. So I put it in his seat. So when he gets on the bus, my man of the match champagne was there. I said, I told you, ridiculous decision. But there's been times, Fred, in the dressing room and Matthew, when the gaffer will come in half time and say stuff, and then you're walking out as a group of players and thinking, what was he on about there? Yeah. What on earth was he talking about? It's and then it's unbelievable. You know, the psychology of it.
Does it matter what the manager says?
Yeah, it does to me.
It can make a difference.
I don't know.
It's massive difference.
So I didn't. Me and Duncan, I didn't really speak to my coach for a while, for quite a period of time. It had no relevance.
So he's the coach of the England team, and you and him are hardly exchanging.
We'd say morning some days. If I was playing well, he'd have a chat with me. If I wasn't, he'd just ignore me. But that's how he was.
But you were the best. How is that possible for the England coach?
Yeah, we had a very much a rocky relationship. It was very love-hate, you know.
What did the other players make of that? Were they aware of the sensitivity of the relationship?
Oh, of course they were, yeah. Everyone was. But it wasn't just me, it was quite a few others as well.
Yeah, right.
You know, he had his favourites and the people he'd talked to. And I remember when I got done for the Pedlo, and I got done, and I've done the press with him, and I've gone through all that, and then he summoned me. He summoned me down to hotel reception. So it's a massive... Everyone's knocking around. There's, like, people everywhere. And he said, he summoned me. And I think we're going to go to a room and do this. So what? He had been in reception. He said, can I have a chat? I said, yeah, of course you can. He says, I'm you're banned for the next game, and I'm stripping you of your vice captaincy, which I'll be honest with you, was a bit of a blessing to me, because I really enjoy it. Yeah. But banned is no good. Yep. I said, all right, fine. And then he turned around and he says, and while I'm thinking about it, he says, what have you ever done for me?
What?
And I said, I don't know what you mean, Duncan. I don't know what you mean. He says, well, Collingwood got me trainers.
I said, what, Shaw?
I said,
he did not.
I said, oh, did he? He says, Azix. He said, right? He said, Strauss gets me sunglasses. What have you got for me? I thought, hang on a minute. It's a big house in Cape Town, and OB, not enough. It's like I was dumbfounded. It was really.
Was he serious?
Deadly,
he was expecting you to buy him a present for everything he's done for you.
I don't know if because I was working with a few companies at that time. Maybe he expected a case of Red Bull or something. I don't know. Wow. But it was like, what have you done for me? It's like, oh, right. And honestly, it was really, really weird.
That is utterly bizarre.
Yeah. You know, but that whole time was time was really weird. I remember because
did you buy anything for him after?
No. I thought about leaving him a parting gift, or leaving one in his car. But I remember when I got done for the Pedlo. Yep. It was really weird because they called a crisis meeting, a team meeting, a crisis meeting, and we walked in to the team room, and there was the flip chart, and everyone's name initialed was on the flip chart, and you're looking down and you can see all your initials on the flip chart. So one by one, right, you had to get up and write what time you came in the 2 nights before when I got rumbled for the peddler. And he said, now we've got a 12 midnight curfew. We've never had a curfew in our lives, but we've got a midnight curfew. If you break it, you're getting fined or whatever. So one by one, the lads are getting up and writing. A couple of the lads lied. One of the batsmen lied. He phoned up another player and
got an alibi.
Really?
For his story.
Yeah. Wow.
A few lads got up and wrote it. Right, one of them was like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and then one of the lads, Liam Plunkett, was a bit noisy coming in, and then Duncan said, "Are you going to put? You kept the coach up as well?" And then Pudge just turned and said, "Would you like me to write that or what?" So then I've got up. I've got the pen in my hand. Do you know what? For the life of me, no idea what time I came in. No idea. So I'm looking round at the lads thinking, someone just help us out here. So I didn't know, so I just put 3:30. So he's like, his face has collapsed and he's oh. I came in at 1:30. I've done myself out of 2 hours. So we've done that, and it was bizarre. And then the next day, Ian Belly was younger then, and he was a bit worried about his position. So we had a lad called Jeremy Snape, who was a psychologist, which I don't know why, but we had him, and he's gone over after the meeting.
I know Snape. Was he not that good as a psychologist?
I don't know. I just knew him as a player, the most insecure player I've ever played with. So Belly's gone up to Snapey after the meeting because Belly's panicking. He's worried. He says to Jeremy Snapey, he says, "Snapey, you know, I'm thinking of just going over to Duncan now and apologising because I did come in at 1:30, 2 o'clock, and I might." And Jeremy Snape said, "No, Belly, just leave it. It's not the time for this. It's not the time. Leave it." So he thought nothing of it. Next morning, we got to practice. We're all sat on the grass. So Duncan's made his big speech, hammering everyone and saying about this and that. And then he turns around and Jeremy Snape, the psychologist, he said, "Jeremy, you're the only one out of everyone who's apologised. Thanks very much for your email."
No.
Belly's face, I thought he was going to cry. No. His face drops, he's like tears in his eyes. He's like, what? So, dressing room dynamics are a weird thing.
Yeah.
I was just going to one quick point, Rob, is just on the psychology of a coach hammering players when they played badly. Think about the skill that is in play when you play cricket, when you play football. Would you want somebody performing surgery on you to have a gun to his head, so if something goes slightly wrong, they get shot, they get hammered? I think that would make them more... Don't you think that would make them more...
I might still be playing.
I think that would make them more nervous, they'd be more anxious, their perception would narrow, they wouldn't be able to be as expansive or creative. I think that the anger and vilification... I don't want a surgeon to be creative,
I want him to do his job.
Yeah, sure, but if you have... OK, to take a different example, take a concert pianist. Yeah. Can you imagine about to play Rachmaninoff's second piano concerto?
Who's Rachmaninoff?
Shoot that before he starts.
Rachmaninoff?
Robbie, go on.
So
I get your point.
One of the best ones to end this conversation about dressing room.
I mean, I had your best.
So, as I've said, Martin O'Neill was a master man management, brilliant.
Yep.
I remember 2 or 3 occasions before the end of the first half, I kept giving the ball away. Right, so I'm going into the dressing room now thinking, wow, I'm going to get absolutely hammered here. Shawls were down, drooped off, thinking he's going to hammer me. Sat down. Anyway. He puts his hand over his mouth, looks round, starts hammering Jerry Taggart. So I'm thinking, I've sat back in my seat and gone, I've got away with this one. But he said to Jerry Taggart, he said, "I'm going to have a go at you, this and that, because I've told you not to pass the ball to him." No, it was the most word that killed me. Yeah. So I'm thinking I've got away with it, but he's like, "I'm a Jerry Taggart, and I've told you, I'm having a go at you because I've told you, why are you giving the ball to him?" Like, he pointed at me and I've got it, made me feel even worse. So his man management skills were fantastic. And I think a manager in a dressing room to have a group of players and manage them all individually is so tough to do, but some people do it brilliantly well.
I was genuinely fascinated by what, I don't know if you've seen it, Ferguson talking to his different players. I would love to see how that dynamic works. And you said Fletcher hammered you when you were sat on the ground. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in situations like that. Thank you for listening. You can download the podcast for extended versions of all the topics we've covered on this week's show at the 5 Live website and all the usual podcast places. Please use the hashtag FredSavSide to get in touch through the week. If you could leave a review on iTunes and give us a rating, that would be great. We really appreciate those who have done it already. We'll be back next week for the final show in the series. But for now, from all of us, goodbye.